your guide to the truth, thenewamericanmedia.com.
Broadcasting to you live from the Milky Way galaxy, the solar system, planet Earth, North America, the United States of America, California, Los Angeles to be specific. Hello everybody, happy Friday and welcome to another special episode of Agree to Disagree. My name is Brian Engelman and I am going to be your host as I have been for the past, we are coming up on 4 freaking years. 4 years! Just think how different the world was 4 years ago. I mean, come on, were any of us talking about measles? Were any of us talking about the FCC regulating your internet and screwing it up like Obamacare? No. No. Were we talking about police killing and paralyzing people on the streets over nothing? Maybe. Maybe a little bit. Jon Stewart was still running The Daily Show at the time. Oh, geez, 4 years ago. I wonder, how long ago was Conan O'Brien on The Tonight Show? Anyway, I digress. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for riding out the past couple of weeks with us. This is convention season. It has been for a very long time. This is the time of year where the New American Media goes and covers music conventions, Conscious Life Expos, and tries to bring you cool videos. We're going to have some more good videos coming up. Check our website, thenewamericanmedia.com. We did put up an interview that we had with Jim Mars. We have one with Henry Rollins. We have one coming on the way with Adam Kokesh. That should be coming in a couple of days, hopefully sooner rather than later once we render all those videos together. But check them out. thenewamericanmedia.com. On the right-hand side of the page, there's 3 buttons. It says TNAM Radio. That's where you click play to listen live to this program, and the Unhappy Hour Sports Show. You can click it right there and watch it from our homepage. Underneath that is our Twitter feed and our Facebook. So make sure you're following us on Twitter. We're at American_media_, and do a search on Facebook for The New American Media with spaces in between. And, like us, follow our page, all that jazz. And then finally, subscribe, youtube.com/thenewamericanmedia. We would like to welcome Blake the Eccentric Walley to today's program. We have a lot of catching up to do in the world of news, but definitely make sure if you want to stay on top of things throughout the week, follow Blake's Twitter feed. That will be the most up-to-date, up-to-the-minute pontifications of this guy. At Eccentric99, and we're at American_media_. So get connected, join the conversation. Blake, thanks for joining our conversation today, sir. How you been?
Thank you, Brian. I'm doing quite well. Pleasure, as always, again, to be on the program.
Yes.
Discuss the news.
Discuss the news and disgusting news. I don't have too much to say. Okay, I want to. Here's what I want to do. Our main story today is going to be the internet. It's going to be: do we want to screw this up like Obamacare has screwed up healthcare? If it ain't broken, why are we fixing it? I just want to say that's the main story. Then I just want to buzz past just a couple sentences on a couple other stories that caught my ear, and then we're going to get to our main story. That's how I want to set this up with y'all. But I opened up Mozilla Firefox, and it reads thusly. It says, the FCC votes on net neutrality in 12 days. Okay. Now, before I get into this page that was the very first thing that popped up when I opened up my browser today, I just want to say I was at an event. I was where Henry Waxman, he was a U.S. representative in California's 33rd Congressional District from 75 till 15. Henry Waxman told a group of very, very wealthy Los Angeles area donors, net neutrality will be the culmination of our 100-year plan. End quote. I was there. I have talked about this before. And I think it's time people pay attention. If you want to trust Henry Waxman, you deserve what you get. If you want to give Barack Obama another chance to make massive sweeping legislation, here's your chance. But Henry Waxman told that group behind closed doors, the richest of the richest Los Angeles donors, quote, "Net neutrality will be the culmination of our 100-year plan." End quote. This was a speech given right at the height of Obamacare debates, and the country was very upset about what was being rammed down our throats without proper vetting. So, you can either trust Henry Waxman and Barack Obama or trust Blake and myself. Okay, so here on Mozilla Firefox it says, "Dear members of Congress, the Federal Communications Commissioners will take a vote February 26th on net neutrality rules. I want the FCC to do all it can." This is essentially, this is a petition that you can send to Congress, to the people like Henry Waxman. Want to make that clear. It says, "We are close to victory. Take action now. This is our final stand because the web is not owned by any one of us. Rather, it is shared by all of us. That's why net neutrality is so important." So, it says, "FCC takes a vote 26th on net neutrality rules. I want the FCC to do all it can to put strong protections in place, and I expect you to do the same. As American citizens, we have been clear about what we want. To date, the public commented nearly 4 million times demanding that the FCC support full net neutrality. More than 300,000 of those comments were by phone, and at one point reaching 1,000 calls per minute. Clearly, I am not alone in my belief that the web is a global engine of innovation and entrepreneurship, a level playing field from which we can learn, connect, and create. I stand with the millions of others in the global web community that have opposed fast lanes, which leave the majority in the slow lane, restricting freedom of choice online. There would be no blocking and discrimination of content online. If the FCC votes to uphold these protections, I am asking you to stand in support of full protections and to leave a legacy that will ensure a free and open web for generations. Sincerely, your name will go here." Blake, what do you make of all of this FCC shenanigans?
Oh, that's exactly what it is. It's shenanigans. It's a bunch of bureaucrats getting together behind closed doors and trying to make regulations for all of us to follow, except it's even worse than that because it looks like, from what I've heard, it sounds like Obama has pretty much had this ready to go last November, but didn't want to talk about it until after the election. And so now you've got 5 commissioners of the FCC. 3 of them are Democrats, so they're kind of already, including the top guy, Tom Wheeler. So it looks like they're going to try to ram this through, and the public is not going to be allowed to see it until after they vote on it. Unprecedented, mind-blowing.
So what role does Congress have in this process, if any?
Absolutely nothing. They're, I guess, ceremonial. I don't know exactly. Maybe after they vote, I'm not exactly sure how this process is going to work beyond. Well, it looks like well,
because there really is nothing more important than this right now. There's nothing more important than this. If we lose our internet, it's over. Game over, man.
Yes, and I'm still trying to piece this together because, yes, it's coming up quick. Yeah, February 26th. It's unbelievable, so I don't know. So they're going to vote on it, and then I'm not sure if there's any process afterwards to where Congress has anything to do with it, or they just vote on their own. I don't know when other people can disagree, or if it's just we can't do anything about it and it's just too late unless we really start to make a lot of noise between now and February 26th and tell them not to pass this, get one of these people to change. I don't know if that's going to happen, though, looking at the 3 people that are involved.
Okay, so Tom Wheeler, what's his background? He's a guy we should trust, right?
I don't actually know a lot about him. But no, I really don't trust a lot of unelected bureaucrats. And I don't really think the FCC should be political. I don't know why they're divided on party lines like this, or why then they feel obligated. Maybe, you know what? I have no issue with Tom Wheeler. He should not be involved in this. This is not the FCC's business to regulate the internet. So it's kind of hard. I don't want to demonize him because he's somebody that we should never know. He can go, do his job and live his life, and we never hear his name. But now he's being put into the public because he's essentially going to be in charge of, I guess, of a lot of this regulations of federal micromanagement into our internet, for really affecting everything going forward and changing the, I guess, the foundation of this country, the internet. I mean, it's pretty amazing what they're trying to pull right now. I'm just trying to wrap my head around it and trying to figure out, are they trying to really get away with what they are? But maybe this isn't that big of a surprise. It's just you can't believe this is actually happening, and it's coming down so quickly in just a couple of weeks. Not even.
Yeah, it is pretty crazy.
And yeah, 332 pages. So, I mean, it reminds you, of course, of the Obamacare, where you get this huge bill that nobody has time to read. So they're basically telling us, yeah, we got to pass it so we can find out what's in it. And it's basically the same thing. It's just 332 pages, but this time nobody gets to look at it, and they're going to vote for it, and then they're going to ram it down as a political issue because they have a Democrat majority. And then what are we going to do? I guess all of a sudden it's like this new uncharted territory where now the government is totally involved in our internet. It's going to change everything. And for what? And there wasn't like any reason to do that.
Yeah.
There's an ulterior motive, right?
Unless what?
There's an ulterior motive.
Oh, yeah. Like Obama has any of those.
Right.
Give me a break. Him and Holder and all the rest of these clowns, the Valerie Jarretts, these guys have a plan, just like Henry Waxman and their progressives had this big 100-year plan. It's not good for us. Guys, just face it. It's not good for us. If you're listening to this show and you're not being paid to do so by the NSA or the CIA, someone to break down the content of what's going on, and Lord help me, I'm sure that this is already 4 years in. This ain't our first rodeo, Blake. I'm sure we're being listened to in one regard or another, but this is a game changer.
We've come up in a conversation once or twice.
Yeah. You look through my Rolodex, you're like, wow, all these cats? Okay.
I'd love to see my file one day, someday.
Yeah, I wonder what our files look like. They're like, why does he have Cliven Bundy's number? Who is he talking to?
Yeah.
What is wrong with this guy? Like, I don't know. I was just curious what was going on, so I went out there with a camera. I don't know. I just wanted to see for myself. What? Leave me alone. I'm doing a radio show.
File.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see it. No, but I don't trust the intentions of this president at all. I'm just.
Nobody should. After
everything
this.
has to stop. Everything has to stop, grind to a halt, and we all need to collectively come together and talk about nothing but the FCC story. From here on out, we have 12 days. This is way bigger. I should get David Seaman on the phone. I haven't had him on the show yet, and I think he's big into all this stuff. But anyway, it's 12 days. We'll see what we can do. Sign the petitions. I mean, call all your local officials. But
harass them on Twitter. I was speaking of that, Tom Wheeler. I was looking at his. Let's see if I can find his page. Looks like I closed it, but the amount of people that are just screaming at him on Twitter. So there's plenty of ways to get involved. In fact, the main. He's not really a whistleblower, but the guy speaking out against this, one of the minority of the Republicans, is speaking out. Ajit Pai. People need to go check him out and follow him on Twitter and go look at his writings and go listen to his interviews. Just very alarming stuff. Very well-spoken and smart guy. Really speaking a lot of common sense. So we just have to get that message to all of the progressives out there, because they're probably, I don't know how they're going to divide this. If they're going to make this a political issue and make it an Obama versus the Republicans thing, I don't know how they're going to try to sell this to the public. Or they're going to try to keep them in the dark, because yes, this should be the thing that just destroys Obama once and for all. This should be the one thing where all the people that are still out there liking Obama should go, oh my God, I can't believe that they've crafted this, this monstrosity, this 332 pages, held on to it, kept it on ice until after the election, and then decided that he was going to try to just ram this through secretly behind closed doors, and we wouldn't be able to see it until it was already implemented, and it was going to micromanage everything about the internet and beyond. We can only imagine what's in there. Well, of course, we can't read it.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like you look at the food industry, and now that we have access to instant communications, you see what's happening. You see that we're not ingesting nearly as many genetically modified foods as we used to. We're not ingesting the partially hydrogenated XYZ. We're not ingesting the high fructose corn syrups. We're waking up to what's going on. You look at the stock prices of McDonald's. When you have information, you tend to use that information, and you change your habits accordingly. And with the Dow Jones absolutely freaking out past 18,000, this would be a very amazing time to pull the plug. Once everybody has their investments back, the uber rich and their 18,000 Dow Jones, an overprinted U.S. dollar, overextended, the BRICS nations all lining up trying to decouple from this, our involvement in many, many, many more wars in many more countries with ISIS. This would be a very interesting time to pull the plug on actual information. And we know from Brian Williams we're not going to get real information. I mean, we're going to get whatever they want us to have. Man, I thought about that Brian Williams story. We'll get to that in a second. But anyway, I want to read a couple words from Ajit Pai. He said Friday on Newsmax TV's The Steve Maltzberg Show, FCC Commissioner Ajit Pai said President Barack Obama is about to succeed in his attempt to take, quote, alarmingly unprecedented direct involvement, end quote, into the FCC's plan to regulate the Internet, which he explained will mean billions of dollars in new taxes, slower broadband speeds, and less competition. Discussing the plan that the FCC has refused to let the public see, Pai said, quote, unfortunately, it looks like the cake has been baked. President Obama gave his direction to the FCC back in early November, and lo and behold, the FCC majority has put together President Obama's plan for Internet regulation, and it looks to be posed to pass it 3-2 vote. When asked if the president's move was an alarmingly unprecedented direct involvement into the FCC, Pai agreed, explaining that the FCC has been an independent agency since 1934, he said. When you have a politician shortly after the midterm election deciding to direct the agency to do X, Y, and Z, and telling us he wants to use a particular legal theory to do it, you're in uncharted territory, at least in my experience. I think compromising the independence of the agency is bad enough, but especially when it involves the government control of the Internet, that is just a dangerous road for us to travel on. That's what we're talking about, people. That's what we're up against. That's how important this is.
Yeah, right. Isn't it kind of weird how it seems like this is like, and as you said, this should be the only story, and it's like you're not seeing enough of it. Thankfully, Drudge has been front and center, helping push out this story, because I'm not seeing nearly enough coverage of this stuff. Everybody should be freaking out. Everybody should know who this guy's name is, this Ajit Pai, and be, questioning this and going, why, Obama? Why are you doing this? Getting an explanation, getting a statement, something. So we'll see. But it's time to turn up the heat, or we could be facing some pretty serious consequences. But who knows? Maybe they do something, and then people will start freaking out then. But will it be too late? I don't know.
if they do something that would be so bad the people would start freaking, I think they're ready to click a whole bunch of dominoes. Because when people get upset, I think that's when they roll in the MRAPs. I've seen this coming for a long time, Blake, and I know, well, not to put words in your mouth, but we've had conversations about this, you and I.
Right.
It just depends. With 2 years left, is now the time? Is this the time to make a move? If you're a desperate lame duck president hell-bent on conquering the world. Maybe.
Well, it's not even just him. He's the figurehead, but yes, just the American empire just kind of crumbling and doing some really desperate maneuvers right now to, I guess, keep the status quo in power. And this is, yeah, as that guy said, this is totally unprecedented, and they're going for broke right now, just on everything. And so, yeah, I mean, maybe this are the last throes of the empire. I don't know. I hope so. Maybe there's a silver lining here. I hope, but we still, we got a lot to discuss and work on over the next couple of weeks and see what happens with this thing.
Well, here's something else. I'm going to scoot away from this story for a minute here. Something else we should all be disturbed by. I just saw this, and you guys should unfortunately take a look at it. It's just, it's beyond frustrating, and it's all on camera. That's the difference. It's all on camera, people. Madison, Alabama. The Indian government is extremely disturbed by the treatment of a 57-year-old grandfather from that country who was roughed up by police while walking in a suburban neighborhood in Alabama, a spokesman said Friday. Saeed, I should have practiced this name beforehand. Akbaruddin.
Oh, yeah, forget it.
Actually, this one's not as bad. Akbaruddin. 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 A spokesman for India's External Affairs Minister. I know, Blake, sometimes they're absolutely unpronounceable.
No, I'm thinking of that movie. Was that Horrible Bosses where they had the OnStar thing and they had that Indian guy and they called him Gregory? Do you remember that? And then that one part where they were just saying, "Hey, we're not going to call you. We're going to call you by your real name," and they just could not pronounce it. And they're like, "Okay, yeah, let's go back to Gregory."
I haven't seen that.
But it was something like that. Like nobody could pronounce it. But yeah, I got you, Brian. Don't worry. We don't have a.
So this guy,
explain it to us
this India spokesman, whoever he is. Yeah. No, I think I got it. Saeed Akbaruddin. Said the government took the incident very seriously and was in contact with the U.S. mission in New Delhi. The government also will contact officials in Washington and Alabama, saying in response to reporters' questions in New Delhi about the treatment of... I should have done this. Sureshbhai Patel?
I wouldn't, yeah.
Mr. Patel.
Patel. Yeah.
Mr. Patel in the Tennessee Valley.
Gregory. All right.
What we'll communicate is that we're extremely disturbed. This is a matter of concern for us in India and the U.S. as a pluralist societies need to address these issues and find ways in a mature manner so that these aberrations are not the norm. All right, let's just get into what happened here. God, so gross. Madison police officer Eric Parker was arrested and is being fired. Good. The Madison police officer that did this has been arrested and he is being fired after Patel was slammed to the ground and injured while visiting relatives in the town located near Huntsville. An attorney for Patel said the man suffered partial paralysis in the incident but hopes for a full recovery. The officer has not commented publicly, and court records are not yet available to show whether he has a lawyer. As word of Patel's treatment and injuries spread, a site established on GoFundMe to help cover medical and other expenses generated more than $58,000 in donations in a day by midday Friday. Hank Sherrod, the family's attorney, says Patel does not have insurance. This should all be covered by the police. But anyway, so here's what happened. Police stopped Patel while he was walking on a sidewalk in his son's neighborhood. On February 6th, Sherrod says the man was stopped and hurt at least partly because of his dark brown skin. I think skin color made him more likely to be a victim of police power, Sherrod said Friday. Okay, I can't say stuff like that right off the top of my head, but all you have to do is watch us. Patel suffered injuries, including partial paralysis of his legs. He's filed a federal lawsuit. Civil rights violated. Oh, yeah, the caller says he's a skinny black guy. He's got a toboggan on. The caller is not identified. someone called in saying that there's an unfamiliar man walking the neighborhood and peering toward garages. Well, you know what? I mean, as far as a call like that, I know that I've taken note of people that I've never seen before, and if you're describing them, yes, maybe not say that they have a sled on their head. I don't think a toboggan is exactly what they're going for. And if they want a description, you say skinny black guy. Now, if there was a racial slur in there, whatever. But let's just say what you watch on the video sucks. You can hear country music playing audibly on the car's radio in the video recording. All right, well, now the picture's getting painted a little bit better. 2 officers approach the man on foot. "What's going on, sir?" asks one of the officers. He says, "What? You're what, India?" Police pepper the man with questions about what he's doing and where he's going, but his answers are inaudible, and someone on the recording is heard saying no English. Patel appears to try to walk away, and one of the officers warns, "Do not jerk away from me again." One of the officers, neither of whom is identified, then slams Patel face first into the ground less than 90 seconds after the confrontation began. "He don't speak a lick of English," one of the officers says, as another officer arrives at the scene. And this is going on, trying to get more information. But if you watch the video, I mean, they just go right up to this guy and just almost instantaneously, they're saying within 90 seconds, just body slam this little dude, just smash him, and they try to pick him up, and his whole lower body isn't working. And they're like, "You can stand, come on, get on your feet." And his legs are just limp and like he's broken. There was no need for this type of stuff. But Blake, I'm fairly certain you're not familiar with this story yet.
No, I am. I read it when we were discussing pre-show when you were talking about it.
Did you? Yeah. Have you seen the video? The slam?
Yes. This is really disturbing, and it just says right here he's a farmer from a small town in India. So you can imagine you're a 57-year-old man who's lived your whole life in a small town in India. You're coming to the States. You're hanging out in suburban Alabama. You're visiting your son. Yeah, you're gonna go walk around the neighborhood. This has got to be really cool for him to wow, you're in America looking at these these suburban houses and just hanging around, walking down the neighborhood. Maybe you're looking at people and looking at garages and stuff. You're not looking as a places to rob anything. It's just this is a big deal to you when you've spent your whole life in another country like that. You're not used to the American suburbs. You've only seen that kind of stuff on TV. And he didn't speak English well enough when these cops showed up. And then with the way that they reacted I don't want to say they, just at least the one guy, except the one other officer is just standing there, and you got to wonder what that person was thinking. Oh my God, did that just happen? What do I have to do now? I didn't get to see the whole video, but yes, the officer has been fired and absolutely should be. And yeah, they should pay every dollar, and hopefully this poor man makes a recovery. And yeah, the people, that's just bad for, you got all these people from India that are going to be outraged, and that's all rightfully so. It just makes America look bad. And it's this whole, and yeah, there could be a racial element if they think that this guy is some sort of terrorist, because that's all they hear about, all this ISIS, Al Qaeda stuff all day, and they see a skinny, dark-skinned man with the something on his head, a turban, whatever I don't even know. I'm not trying to be insensitive.
No, Blake, it's a toboggan. No, that
can't be right.
A toboggan is like a sled.
Like sled in Alaska.
Yeah. You have all the components. He's a skinny black guy, got a toboggan on his head. They roll up, ding, 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 ding.
Right.
It has all the components. This one looks really bad. But the weird part? Seeing this story cross my line today, came across my desk. I just watched it. I saw this guy not out of control or violent, and I saw the police slam him, and when they lifted him up, his legs weren't working. I don't even know if I knew that it was an Indian guy. I have no idea the race of the person the cop that slammed him down, causing partial paralysis. I just saw a situation where the police did not need to do that, and they did it. So he's been fired, and he's been charged. I did read that correctly, right?
Yeah, he should be. I mean, that was psychotic behavior. There's no reason for it. There was no threat there whatsoever. And he is basically, you run into a foreigner who doesn't speak real well, and he starts to kind of walk away because he doesn't know that he's even doing anything wrong. He's walking around the neighborhood, and
But
people
I'm
think
sure he
look
was
suspicious.
intimidated right off the bat, wouldn't you guess?
Yeah, I
Intimidated
can't
as all
imagine
hell.
him. Yeah, I mean it's all on video, so it's not like you can, he's any threatening these cops in any way. And then they just took him down. It was outrageous.
Well, we're gonna have to follow this. This is one of those. It's a breaking
I don't think there's
story.
anything to follow because I'm at least the good news about this one. I don't want to demonize any police. I just want to make sure it's just one guy here that needs to be demonized. But at least in this instance, he's not like going to be suspended or something like that, and that he's going to get his job back in a few months. Not some of that. I'm glad they just basically said, nope, you're fired and you're being charged. And I think this is one of the best. If there's a really positive silver lining in one of these cases, this would be one of them. This is a refreshing compared to some of the others.
Yeah, in this
union coming out. Yeah, not the union guy in Alabama saying, basically say, oh, I'm sure he was justified, or
he was
that
reaching
guy
for
been walking in the street.
He was reaching for his waistband.
Right, none of that.
He made the officer feel threatened for his safety. But
Yep.
let's break down the facts here, and we'll move on past this because it is only a week old. This happened on February 6th. So 1 week later, we're still just court records aren't even available showing if he has a lawyer. Trying to figure out this guy partially paralyzed. They're expecting a full recovery. Will he heal completely? But the police officer. He's arrested, but okay, so it's not even saying what the charges are, like what level, or a variety, a grab bag of charges. So it's a very new story. In legalese, a week is nothing. You got to let these things play out, just like Trayvon and George Zimmerman, just like Eric Brown, and let's forget the other guy's name.
Eric Garner, Michael Brown.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah, I meant Michael Brown and forget the police officer's name. If
Darren Wilson.
Yeah, I just don't want to drag that name through the mud anymore. It's like that was a guy that showed up and did his job.
Yeah, this one is totally different.
Eric Garner was different from Michael Brown. Michael Brown was different than Trayvon Martin. The difference, right. Eric Garner, we had video. This guy here, let's just call him Sureshbhai Patel. We have video. And that's why every police officer needs to always have camera at all times. If you have the ultimate power and the ultimate ability to ruin lives, you should have the ultimate responsibility to protect us. And essentially it protects yourself. If you were in that Mike Brown shooting, and if none of the bad things happened that were accused, and based on whatever evidence we have. We saw how that came out. It'll protect good police officers from bad accusations too. So let's just keep that issue in mind. Every police officer needs to be filming everything at all times, and we all need to be able to see it. So we'll keep our eyes peeled on this story, Blake. But I know in your world, let's bounce it back to you. You've had very few entertainers / media personalities have had more of an impact on you than Jon Stewart. I think I'm safe to say. How do you take the news of what's going on over there at the Daily Show and Comedy Central?
Well, he's certainly been an influential guy I've been following for a number of years. I probably haven't missed a whole lot of Daily Shows in the last several years, but it's a huge deal. It's going to be weird. It probably won't really hit me until he's gone. So it really hasn't registered yet, but I know the writing's on the wall, and it's going to happen sometime this year. So yeah, that's and this is interesting. I swear I was sitting in my kitchen like a little over a week ago, thinking about the liberal media and who's really out there, who's even like credible, or who people look at, and it really the only person that came into mind was Jon Stewart. And then it was like maybe 2 days later when all of a sudden the thing with the Brian Williams came out. And then I was like, I didn't realize because I only think sometimes I'm kind of in a bubble. I think of only like the network, the cable news, and I forget how large Brian Williams is. And so I guess kind of he was almost like the the face of the liberal media, at least a serious one. And there was a fantastic Drudge headline just a few days ago, because they were kind of all connected. I think that all the news came out on Tuesday, and the Drudge ran the headline like it was the end of the real news, and they had a picture of Brian Williams. That was the main headline, and then it was the end of the fake news with Jon Stewart on the other side. It was like, yep, there they go. So there actually was another big liberal personality, and so now both of them are basically one's not on the air right now, and one is going to be leaving the air sometime in the next several months. So yeah, there was kind of a strange ordeal. So yeah, there's a huge vacuum right now. Two very big roles to fill, and I don't know if Brian Williams is going to come back. Jon, of course, will move on to other projects. I'm sure he's going to have plenty to go.
Hey, you know what? We thought Dave Chappelle would do the same thing. He just kind of laid low for a decade.
Yeah.
No, I mean everybody's different, but that's what people are wondering: is what is Jon Stewart going to be doing? Do we have any idea with an update?
Well, I mean, he already directed that Rosewater movie, so I'm sure. I'm sure he could take some time off, but I think you'll probably see more of stuff like that, and then you could see him maybe someday do another talk show. He could fill in for whether that's Letterman or the next big name to leave late night. He could always be mentioned somewhere down the line. I'm sure there'll still be plenty of work for him. Yeah,
well,
but
this was a crazy week regarding media personalities. There was also David Carr and Bob Simon. A lot of people, a couple people died. One person got in trouble, and the others just stepping aside from one of the most successful brands. Even just to think, what was it? Craig Kilborn was the host of this before Jon Stewart. How many years ago? Like, I didn't even remember those days. But
yeah, I used to watch. I didn't like Kilborn a lot. He was kind of funny on that show. I think I did watch him a bit on The Daily Show. And I didn't always agree with that. I thought he was a little bit more conservative leaning when I was more of a liberal. And then Jon took over. I think that was during the Bush years, when I guess Craig Kilborn wasn't quite as effective, or maybe it wasn't as hard hitting when Bush was in office. I can't exactly remember. Jon Stewart, I think he's been on 15, 16 years maybe. Yeah, so maybe he did come in at the very end of Clinton and the Bush years. So yeah, I remember Kilborn was doing that a few years. Then he got his big break on the nightly talk show. And then I don't remember, is he still on the air? I don't even know. And I don't mean any disrespect. I don't actually know what he's been up to.
I don't off the top of my head either. I'll tell you what, I'll look him up, see what I can find on him. But what do we know about David Carr and Bob Simon then?
Yeah, Bob Simon, I guess, was 60 Minutes. I've heard the name, and no disrespect there. I wasn't real familiar with him. And this David Carr, I feel bad that I'm not more familiar with him, because this seems to be a pretty big deal. And everything I've been reading on him is really great. In fact, he's a fellow Minnesotan. Went to New York, and I guess was just a very well-respected journalist. I'm sure I've read some of his work. I'm trying to go over some of it. There's a really great piece on Politico. I did a great story about him. So that's a big deal, losing one of they're basically saying like he was like the New York Times. I don't know, but it sounds like he was like the best thing they had, and now he's gone. So I mean, that's a big deal as well. So yeah, there's not a very good week for that for the media.
Yeah, I'm looking at Craig Kilborn. It's crazy looking at his profile here.
You doing some acting or something?
For the Daily Show with Jon Stewart, 1996.
Oh, was that long ago? Wow.
Yeah, the late Show with Craig Kilborn, 1999.
Okay, yeah, I'm a few years off on that too. Yeah, and he's also from Minnesota too.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
What else just came out of Minnesota? I just saw another story. Something actually not good. I forget what it was.
No, I said he's from Missouri. I swear he was from Minnesota. I don't know. Maybe I've got that wrong. No, he's from Hastings, Minnesota. For some reason, Wikipedia is listing him as born in Kansas City. I don't know. Maybe he moved to Minnesota when he was 4. Okay, yeah, born in Kansas City, moved to Minnesota when he was 4. All right. Anyway. Oh yeah, I remember. Oh yeah, because he was on SportsCenter all those years. I remember that.
Every time I'm clicking on see full bio, it's taking me to some weird page. Where are you going to get this biography? What the heck?
Wikipedia.
I'm on IMDb, and it's just being very. So, what has he done in the past 5 years? Is what I'm trying to discover here.
That's a good question. I think IMDb would be a good place to
Okay, here we go.
check.
Trivia. He replaced Tom Snyder as the host on The Late Late Show in '99. Then he was replaced by Craig Ferguson in 2005.
Yeah, it says he guest hosted Artie Lang's show in 2013. That's the last thing I could find on him. So I don't know. Maybe he's got so much money from all of his days of doing all those shows. Maybe he doesn't need the work. Good for him. I don't know.
Well, we'll see if Jon Stewart pulls a Dave Chappelle and just disappears, moves to Southern Ohio, and just hangs out all day drinking coffee. We'll obviously follow where Stewart lands. Do we know who the replacement's going to be?
No, I've heard a lot of awful suggestions. I just don't know.
What are some of the worst suggestions you've heard, Blake?
Well, I think I've heard both Brian Williams and Rachel Maddow.
Oh, come on. Seriously?
Dude, I swear there's an article today on Mediaite and it was a quote from Jason Jones, who's one of the correspondents or journalists, whatever you want to call it. He has a lot of great work on The Daily Show. He was quoted as saying that he thought Brian Williams would be good, but I didn't even click on the article because I didn't want to look at it. But because I was just like, I just can't. That just makes me cringe. But I don't know if it could have been a joke. I have no idea. But then, yeah, there was another article by Mediaite. One of the writers there wrote an article saying how they wouldn't miss a beat or that would be just fine. The Daily Show could keep rolling, and it named 3 personalities, and I think the first one was Rachel Maddow, and I don't remember the other 2.
Lord.
And it was just like, that's just awful suggestions.
I'll tell you what, I think if someone like Jimmy Fallon, like I'm seeing more and more of his videos online, the Saved by the Bell reunions and the Fresh Prince.
Yeah.
Like his stuff is really, really good. And I was thinking, like, if Abby Martin had the right set of SNL writers, or if enough of those same writers could come on and like kind of craft a slightly different edge to the show, I think someone like that could hold it down in a completely unexpected way. But as far as like who are the front
It'd be
runners,
a big step down.
I mean, Colbert probably would have done it, except Colbert graduated past Stewart. I wonder if that had anything to do with it.
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say, but Jimmy Fallon wouldn't do it because he's already pretty much.
Yeah, that's
a big step down
that's what happened.
Show.
Jimmy Fallon and.
But it would be nice to rescue
Colbert.
somebody coming from talk show. I'd love to see. How about Jimmy Kimmel leave ABC and go to Comedy Central? There he could be, 10 times more edgy and have a lot more good material on Daily Show. I'd love to see that.
Well, if you're talking Kimmel,
course,
I've always been a big Adam Carolla fan.
Oh yeah, well he's doing Adam Carolla's great, but he's doing that Catch a Contractor show, which is also really good on Spike TV.
Yeah, but a lot of those TV shows, they'll can about 8 to 12 episodes in advance, and then by the time they're being released, you're not still even filming current shows.
Well, at least for now, we're throwing out some good names that are proper that I'd like to see. Yeah, I'd say Adam Carolla. I would see, or Jimmy Kimmel. I don't know if he would do it. That would probably be a step down. I'm not really sure though. Jon Stewart made a lot of money, but I don't know if Jimmy Kimmel's that political. Carolla would be more political. So it's definitely some big shoes to fill. There's got to be some other kind of.
What about
Anthony Cumia? No, I don't know if they would.
Well, wow, that would be interesting. Is he still suspended? What's the latest with Opie and Anthony?
Well, I think Opie and Jim Norton have continued to do their own thing, and I think Anthony Cumia. I think he also started his own podcast. I don't know if he's co-hosting it or who it would be with. I've been out of that loop for a while, but that's the latest I know.
Joe Rogan.
Ooh, yeah, that would be a great one. Yeah, he could fit in. I don't know if he would do that, but I'm sure he would consider it. That's another good name. Yeah.
All right, well, this will be interesting. See how that plays out.
If they fill it, I mean, I don't know. Maybe they'll go in a different. If they're going to keep the Daily Show forever, I mean, they got to have something though to go with Larry Wilmore. They can't just leave him hanging as the only news program.
Well, what about that John Oliver?
Well, John Oliver, yeah, he would be.
What if he came back?
Great job. That's a possibility. I mean, he's only doing the HBO once a week. I forget what the name
Last Week Tonight or something like that, which is essentially what I do every time I do an Agree to Disagree. Once a week, I'm like, all right, what happened this week? I don't know. Oh yeah, the Brian Williams, what a clown.
Right.
Try to cover the most current stories, but for people that are not political junkies and that just covering this stuff nonstop can rot your brain. So occasionally it's nice to not have to do it every single night. But John Oliver rocked it. If you remember earlier this year when he was
Stewart was
filming his movie.
That was last year, yeah.
Uh-huh. I think John Oliver crushed it. I mean, he'd be the natural. Bring him back, pay him. Just natural. And he keeps the brand name because he's done it already. Anyway, I think that's who you'd have to go with.
Yeah, it's not a bad gig. I don't know exactly what those contracts or how much money they make, but yeah, I'd like to see him, and because he took some of the talent with him too. I'd like to see John Oliver and I almost forgot his name, the fellow Indian, Asif Mandi, if I'm pronouncing that right, because he went with John Oliver. He was really a great part of the Daily Show too. So yeah, it'd be nice to see that gang get back together.
Oh, is that the guy? Is that the guy that ended up in what was that movie? The Internship.
Yes, that was.
He was the
dude.
boss.
I started watching that, and it was so bad. It was such awful propaganda, and I wanted to like it because they did put some funny stuff in there.
I liked it.
I like all the characters, but it was so the way that they put so much propaganda in it. I actually stopped it and deleted it. I couldn't continue more than like a half an hour into it. Yeah, even with a great cameo by Will Ferrell, there was. And everything worked for it. Yes, that Asif Manvi is a really funny guy, but the whole thing with the Google, the promoting it was so sickening. I had to turn it off.
Yeah, it was what it was. Yeah, okay, but I've seen him, and we'll see. Entertainment really is interesting to see if you just bring somebody up and give a nobody a chance. I mean, Corey Kluber, the Indians pitcher, came out of kind of nowhere and won a Cy Young last year. Sometimes you don't have to be the big free agent signing from the other team that everyone knows about. Sometimes you just got to step up and hit it out of the park. So we'll see about that. But let's cover this before we get going, man. I mean, out of all the frivolous crap we're talking about, we spent about 20 minutes being TMZ right there. Gossiping. We were literally gossiping about who's going to take the next job at the Daily Show. Who's going to take the next job at the Daily Show? I think he could do it, but I don't know. Maybe. Yeah. Oh, that's a good name. We were literally gossiping like TMZ. For
that's
20
all right.
minutes.
At least our names were a lot better than most that I've seen out there, even though they might not be that realistic. Some of the bigger names out there, but yeah, beats Brian Williams and Rachel Maddow. That would be terrible.
Oh, it'd be a train wreck. How about this? Send us a tweet. Oh, Amy Poehler and what's the other girl's name? Amy Poehler and both Saturday Night Live girls.
Tina Fey.
Thank you. Yeah. One of them.
Those were some of the years I didn't watch a lot. That was the Jimmy Fallon years.
They're pretty funny. She is hilarious on 30 Rock and everything. But anyway, that's a decent name. But we'll see what direction they take. But anyway, as we're talking about all these goofy stories. World War III is just kind of ratcheting up over there. What's going on with ISIS? What's going on with Ukraine? Just give us a little bit of overview there, because for all of these other things, I don't know, a world war, getting back sucked into another conflict with ISIS, all over the place in northern Africa, in Europe, as we're, I don't know, kind of positioning for a battle with Putin. Vladimir Putin. Right. I mean, what in the hell? It's just that's the important story on top of the internet. I don't know. It's weird to say World War III could be the second most important story, but we would never know the true information about World War III if they screw with the internet. Let's just kind of leave it at that, okay? So what's going on those fronts on geopolitics?
I'm not super well versed in that, but I would think that I know there was some talks recently, the big like late night, all night talks with Angela Merkel of Germany and Putin, and I believe France and some big names kind of trying to work out a ceasefire over the weekend in Ukraine. Yes, there's been lots of fighting over there, and there is a conflict. You've got kind of a tug of war going on between, the Russia wants Ukraine, of course, and the West, under the EU wants Ukraine, and they've been just kind of fighting over who gets what, I guess. And it's unfortunate because you just like to see the people of Ukraine just have their own country back and free to elect whoever they want. Instead, they're being battled over by two mega superpowers. But either way, I think that's just really none of our business, and we should never be meddling over there and messing with Russia, especially. That's just not a good idea, not in our interests. But anyway, that's me. And with this ISIS thing, I know there's been a lot of talk recently. It's a big deal, and I can't really give it I can't say it, explain it the way it deserves to. But I know there's been this lately. There's been this Obama's force authorization. It's this AUMF. And I would probably encourage people to go look into that and find people that can explain it better than I can. I can give you an idea of what there's a Ron Paul article that was going around a couple days ago. Actually, it's from yesterday. It's Obama's force authorization as a blank check for war worldwide, and I will read parts of that. So the president is requesting Congress to pass an authorization for the use of military force resolution against ISIS. Congress has not issued a similar resolution since 2002, when President Bush was given the authority to wage war against Iraq. Now, the purpose of this resolution is to give official authority to the president to do the things that he has already been doing for the past 6 years. Seems strange, but this is typical for Washington. President Obama's claim is that he does not need this authority. He claims, as we have all the other recent presidents, that the authority to wage war in the Middle East has been granted. This gets where it gets dry. This is not my strong suit. Resolutions passed in 2001, 2002 in the Article 2 of the Constitution to ask for this authority at this time as a response to public and political pressure. It has been reported that the president is going to request that the authority limit the use of ground troops. However, it would not affect the troops already engaged in Syria and Iraq to the tune of many thousands. This new authority will acknowledge that more advisors will be sent. Most importantly, it will appear to have given moral sanction to the wars that have already been going on for years. Brian, I got a couple more small paragraphs, but jump in whenever you feel like it.
Yeah, keep going, man. Like it just is what it is. Let's take it right from this source, and we got to stay on top of it. I mean, what more can we say? It's just kind of this bland and dull thing that's happening, but it's not bland, it's not dull. There are real ramifications to all of these decisions that are being made. So
to get us involved into another conflict we don't
this stuff
necessarily
takes
want
decades.
to be in. Right.
These aren't things like, what am I going to eat today? Worst case scenario, you eat something that doesn't sit right with you, and you're hurting for a little while. Like if you eat some bad food, that's a bad decision. But when we're talking bad decisions on the geopolitical landscape, this is something that makes you feel bad for a decade or more. You know, these are real big deals. So no, wrap it up with whatever else is still in there.
Sure. Interestingly, it actually expands the ability of the president to wage war, although the president publicly indicates he would like to restrain it. Now, the new authorization explicitly does not impose geographic limits on the use of troops anywhere in the world, and expands the definition of ISIS to that of all, quote, associated forces. Well, that's kind of it's kind of an awful thing. That's in quotation marks. Maybe by that definition, who knows what they could say is an associated force. But anyway, a grant of this authority will do nothing to limit our dangerous involvement in these constant Middle East wars. And lastly here, or at least for now, The war propagandists are very active and are winning over the support of many unsuspecting American citizens. It is not difficult to motivate resistance against an organization like ISIS that engages in such evil displays of horrific violence. Anyway, it goes on to talk about how we've been fighting for 25 years in the Middle East and the unintended consequences and what could happen with boots on the ground and blowback and, who knows. So here we go, real quick. It's my opinion that this is Ron Paul's words here. It's my opinion that giving additional authority to wage war in the Middle East is a serious mistake. Instead, the authority granted in 2001 and 2002 should be repealed. And a simple and correct solution would be for our elected officials to follow the rules regarding war laid out in the Constitution. Yeah, I mean, as far as I know, it's supposed to be Congress that's supposed to be getting involved in the wars, and I'm not sure if this kind of gives the president more power and not a good idea. I don't know.
Well, I am certainly tired of the fighting. I'm tired of the wars. I just want to be left alone. Just like everybody stop killing each other and then go back to your families. Calm down. Stop killing each other. That's the main thing. And let's rethink this. Can everybody just chill out? I mean, come on. This is what you have to do as a bouncer. And I think that's where everything's weird. I guess maybe having grown up, from the age of 17, since maybe I was 15, I was waiting tables. At 14, I was a busboy. So I've been in the restaurant business at 14, washing dishes and as a busboy. And then at 15, 16, working in country kitchen.
You buffet?
No, not country.
Country kitchen. It's more like an upscale Denny's. Denny's.
It was like a notch past Denny's, right?
Yeah.
And I was a server there, and then the point being, I grew up around bouncers. That sounded very strange, but from 17 forward, I was working at a sports bar. 18 years old forward. Working at a sports bar and restaurant, and there are situations that happen, and you got to diffuse them. You see the manager have to just kind of calm things down. You see the door guy checking IDs. You got to calm things down from time to time. And what you see is in Alabama, people getting choke slammed and partially paralyzed over nothing. You should only be doing that stuff if your life's in danger. That was not the case. This isn't a power trip. It's not about whose junk is bigger than the other person's junk. It's not a pissing contest, seriously. But we're living in a world right now where it's like, oh, well, you said something wrong to me? All right, I'm going to bomb you. Okay, that's great. And that also got me on a watch list. Thank you, NSA, Edward Snowden, you jerks. No, but you need to have cops diffuse situations. You need to have bouncers diffuse situations. You need to have ambassadors and politicians that want to calm things down. But that's not the case. That what we've seen kind of nonstop for the past 2 or 3 decades has just been nonstop riling things up and keeping global fighting continuing. It's like I can't remember a time that we weren't in Iraq. Like, I barely remember the Clinton administration. Just a blip on the radar in between being in Iraq. And there's something wrong with that. So these are very important stories, Blake. We will follow them. Look into your crystal ball. How do you see some of this stuff playing out?
Well, I don't know what the deal with this FCC thing is. Just mind-blowing. I'm still trying to wrap my head around it and trying to figure out why there's not been more of an uproar on it. But I'm sure we're going to see a lot of on that, of course, over the next week. And that should be the top story that everybody's going to be discussing, because we don't know. It's going to affect the entire internet as a whole in just under a couple of weeks. Pretty scary stuff. Looks like, yeah. I don't know. I couldn't tell you what's going to happen in ISIS, this situation. I can't tell you what's going to happen in the Ukraine. All I can hope is that cooler heads prevail, or hopefully, I don't know. I mean, I guess I'd just like to see the whole system reboot this empire, and start it over, and get out of Ukraine, get out of the Middle East, focus on here. Make a more do it better, make it more. I don't know what to say anymore. I really don't, Brian. It's getting crazy, and I think the empire is teetering on collapse, and they're making a lot of weird, desperate maneuvers. And yes, it could be poking the Russian bear is not wise, and getting involved into another ground war in the Middle East when we don't really know who we're fighting or who our friends or enemies are. Done enough damage already. It just seems to get worse. They just had an emergency evacuation of what was it, an embassy in Yemen or a base, military base, I can't remember, where they had to get out of there in such a hurry that they had to leave weapons and vehicles behind. And yeah, we're just not welcome in there. They're hurting our name over there. People are just want us out of there. And where does it end, Brian? So I don't know. Those are my predictions. And as far as I don't know who's going to take the Daily Show spot. I don't know. I don't think Brian Williams is going to come back. There's just more and more lies that just seem to be that are just going to drag him down. And I just don't think he's going to be anywhere near the position that he used to be. I think he's gone.
It's pretty tough because, all we have in alternative media is our reputation, Blake. You can only put so many clickbait headlines out there before people start associating your brand, your Facebook page, your Twitter feed, your home site, your personality. You're only going to get burned by that stuff a couple of times. And if you don't have a reputation of at least trying to be honest and owning up to, whoops, hey, I got some more information after that. Let me reset. Let me change this around. That's all you got. That's the currency in the new American media. And Brian Williams definitely lost a lot. And more so than ever, we need full and open access to all of the corners of the internet. No restrictions, no regulations. It ain't broke, don't fix it. You screwed up Obamacare, we don't trust you. Stay off of our internet. It does not belong to you. ARPA created it before it became DARPA, and this belongs to the people. This is not something that should be trifled with. We need to be able to quickly gather accurate information and figure out, without much wasted effort, who the Brian Williamses are and who the truth tellers are. So, more so than ever, as we march toward World War III, Blake, we're going to need all of this information. So protect the internet, get involved, make this your #1 story for the next week and a half. Make sure that you check out Blake's Twitter feed at Eccentric99. Check out our homepage, thenewamericanmedia.com. Make sure that you search The New American Media on Facebook and like the page. Subscribe, youtube.com/The New American Media, and be a part of everything that we're doing over here. Blake, thank you very much for your time. We'll be talking again soon, sir. And for everybody else out there, I appreciate you. I love you. Stay safe, prep, get in shape, and we'll talk again soon. Peace.